What's going on YouTube? Smashing Pumpkin here, coming at you guys with a video today where I discuss the top 8 deck that Jeff Jones ran. It was a Shaddoll deck list that was pretty unique to lists that I'd seen previously. I'm going to discuss those things that made it interesting to me. This is my kind of edited version of his deck. So I'll explain my edits at the end of the video. First, I'm going to discuss the 4 things that I found interesting about Jeff Jones's deck. The first one was they played a high number of Shaddoll monsters, which is complemented by the high number of fusions they played. He played 12 Shaddoll monsters, which is a little bit higher than previous numbers. I believe that the lowest number of Shaddolls people have ran was 8, and then the highest, I think, up to this point was like 10. But he decided to max out on Beast and Squamata. The rhetoric behind maxing out on Squamata is that it becomes any Shaddoll monster that you want it to, which is pretty good when you are trying to fuse as often as possible. It can also always mean that a mathematician can send a Squamata, which will send a Beast. So that is pretty good. And yeah, Beast is also very good in the mirror match, so that is also a good reason to play 3 of it, so that you have 1 in your hand at all times, so that you can tribute fusion summoned constructs or Shekanagas or something, so that you're able to prevent their Shaddoll fusions from going off, which is kind of like the name of the game most of the time. So yeah, he also played what I feel like is probably one of the better cards in the deck, is Denkuseka. He played 3 of this in the main deck. I think that this is this isn't like new, I guess, but I was not aware of how powerful this card was. Against Burning Abyss, it pretty much means that they have no responses to anything that you're going to do, and they just have to try and float their way to victory, which is not easy against Shaddolls because they just summon things that don't care. 3 Denku is definitely really good, especially since this deck in particular isn't playing any defensive back row, or at least defensive traps, so this card is very good. Then the last interesting thing about the monsters is the 3 white and then the 1 black dragon. I'm not exactly sure how he came to these numbers, but they're pretty genius. You'll always be able to see your white dragon before you see the black dragon, and then the 3 dragons will always be able to just kind of like float and just put more damage on the board essentially after you fusion summon, or just so that you can fusion summon. There are also cards that you don't really care about, so you can just special summon them just to like block or get tributed by the last interesting card in the list, which is Enemy Controller. This card is pretty much insane. The amount of versatility this card has is pretty ridiculous. It's chainable, so that it can get in there. It's kind of like a mixture between like El Shaddoll fusion and I guess brain control. Trigger your fusions, which is very good, so that you can kind of like attack with one of those and then enemy controller, take your opponent's monster, swing in with that, and then get back your Shaddoll fusion or something. And that's a really good play, especially in the mirror, so that you don't have a fusion up at the end of your turn, which is good. And then that's about the most interesting things. My edits to the deck were pretty minimal. I took out a Book of Moon and put in a Mind Control, which I think aids to the deck's kind of like OTK nature a little bit better than Book of Moon does. I also took out 1 Grista in the extra deck because the only way of making it involves Core, which will rarely come up, or Super Polymerization. Neither of those really come up ever. And I replaced it with a Castell because it's a rank 4 that you can make that will like out very specific things when you're not up an advantage, so Exiton isn't an option. So there's that. It also is just very good at dealing with floodgates while you have advantage, so that you can like just push in for game essentially. So that's why I put in Castell. Side deck's pretty irrelevant, to be honest. Like, it's only really good against your like bad matchup, which is Quillforts, and that's solved mainly through your Fairy Winds and your MSDs and just seeing those. And your Electric Fires. This card's just so good. So good. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry that this is kind of quick, but, or maybe it's long. I have no idea. I haven't checked the time yet. But if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll try and ask Jeff Jones. I don't really know him that well, but maybe it'll be cool and he'll help answer some questions that you guys have for the deck. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is Smashing Pumpkin signing out. Peace.